We are officially a third of the way through the season, and we get it kicked off with a great Thursday night football matchup with Trevor Lawrence and the Jacksonville Jaguars flying on down to New Orleans to take on Derek Carr, Alvin Kamara, and company. And Ryan, this is a big game for both teams. Jaguars coming off a big win over their division rival, going 4-2, leading the AFC South, starting to get a more firm grip on that division. But there's still a couple teams. Don't want to count out the Colts or the Texans yet. You can discard the Titans. But the Saints, it is very much wide open for that division in the NFC South. And I have some concerns for the Saints overall on the offensive side of the ball that I'd like to get into and kind of hear your thoughts on it. But they ended up losing to the Texans, actually. Both teams ended up going 3-3. But the Saints are still very much in the NFC South division. They're tied with the Falcons and half a game back from the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, who are 3-2, who lost to the Lions. And I think the biggest story here, and I want to address it now, is just going to have to watch the status on Trevor Lawrence and his knee. His knee did get a little twisted up. He was not wearing a brace afterwards during his interview, from all accounts that I have seen at least. And so monitoring his status, because it's such a short week, and his practice and how he's moving, what some of the test results are back. If it's just a bruised knee and he's fine, those are going to be the things I think that you're going to have to go and watch. Because if Trevor Lawrence can't play, that's going to have a very big impact on the overall offense. Who's their backup? Is it Blaine Gabbert? Is that who came in there?
I believe.
No, sorry. C.J. Beathard was the QB that came in for him. But luckily and unluckily, it happened very late into the game, so it was garbage time against the Colts. But in general, though, I've just been impressed with the Jags, and they should be getting Cam Robinson back this week as well after he served his 6-game suspension. So, kind of want to throw a review. What are your overall expectations for both these teams coming to this game, short and weak? What are your thoughts?
So, I do want to build off your point here, being impressed with the Jags. It's not that I'm impressed with how efficient their offense has been. I'm impressed that they've battled back so early because they started off. I think they started out 1-2, right, with back-to-back losses against the Chiefs and the Texans in weeks 2 and 3, and they were one of the worst red zone offenses in the league. They were struggling to convert, and now all of a sudden they're putting up 30 plus a good bit. So this offense, they've battled back. They look really good. I hope Trevor Lawrence is healthy. But as far as it comes to winning this game, one, they need to make sure this defense is pretty good for the New Orleans Saints. So the Jags need to make sure that they're not giving away any free points with turnovers in their own territory or just turnovers in general. And then continuing to improve that red zone offense and make sure that you're converting as many field goals to touchdowns as you can. So that to me is the biggest thing here. If the Saints are going to win this game, they need to get after Trevor Lawrence or whoever's at quarterback, especially if it's C.J. Beathard. That's going to be a really big thing, is just don't let him even get remotely close to finding a groove inside this offense. Another thing, I know that the Jaguars have really good receiving weapons. Send blitzes and play close to line of scrimmage. Don't let the Jags establish a run game. Travis Etienne had a good day again today. So that for me is going to be kind of the MO there for the Saints to come out ahead, especially if Trevor Lawrence doesn't come out and play in this Thursday night matchup.
Yeah. No, I agree with that. And I would say when completely healthy, I think just on paper, I think the Jags just have a little bit of an advantage just overall. But one of the things that concerns me when it comes to then the Saints, moving over to the Saints, is for how many yards that this team has and the weapons that they have. Michael Thomas has been having a really good year. Chris Olave is an elite weapon. He's had some inconsistency over the past couple of weeks, had a better game today against the Texans. Even Rashid Shaheed as well. And then you have Juwan Johnson, their tight end. I'm pretty sure I pronounced it. Juwan Johnson.
Yeah, Juwan Johnson.
Alvin Kamara is back. You have all these weapons, and I know Kamara missed the first 3 games, but they've only scored over 21 points once this entire season through 6 games. That was against your Patriots. And some of that then I think
you just had to throw that in there.
No. But I did have to throw that in, of course, especially as the Falcons embarrassingly lost today. But I have just some concerns for the team on just finishing these drives, and that's one of the things when it comes to this Jags defense, actually, I have been somewhat impressed with, especially stopping the run in general. I think they're going to give up their passing yards.
They're only giving up 75 rushing yards a game. They're giving up 280 passing yards. One of the things that I think is hurting that number is teams are having to kind of keep up with this offense. And so that they're not running the ball as much and they're throwing it more, which is just going to tend to lean more towards passing numbers. So
yeah, and I can absolutely see that as well, because if you go look at the overall points per game for the Jags, they're up there. They're in the top 10 in points per game, averaging just shy of 24 points per game, while the Saints are averaging just over 18. So, and that's where it's just interesting, because you see all these weapons and you have Derek Carr there, and maybe his shoulder's a little banged up, but this offense has seemed to consistently just convert on touchdowns instead of like just getting field goals. I wonder, that to me, I think is going to be the biggest impact of the game, is the Jags can bend, but when it comes to the red zone, it seems like they're able to stop these teams. They're able to get after the quarterback as well, especially with that front duo of theirs. Saints offensive line is not that great. And I think the Jags have the edge in that in the trenches. I'm curious what Cam Robinson is going to bring back to the table. Hopefully, just some more depth to this Jags offensive line. But all that being said, though, none of this might matter if Trevor Lawrence doesn't play. That's going to be the biggest thing. So
yeah, exactly. So I guess let's get into the predictions here, and I'm kind of going to go with what you said there. I'm going with the Jags. I'm going to put a stipulation in this one. If Trevor Lawrence is out, I will probably go with the Saints. I don't really trust anybody to elevate this offense, especially when it comes to incorporating new offensive pieces. It's or new offensive line pieces specifically. It takes a couple weeks, I think, to really get adjusted to how those guys play. And you're in a rhythm with somebody, and then that person gets taken out, another person gets plugged in. And so, like, it's just a little bit of an interesting dynamic there with what's going on and with this offensive line. So I'm going to go with the Jags unless Trevor Lawrence is out. Then I'll pick the Saints.
Okay. I'm also going to go with the Jags. I just have this – I feel actually just either way, even with C.J. Beathard in. But you just look at all the weapons that they have. They have all fields covered with Travis Etienne, who had a great day, a great game today. Calvin Ridley has had a major resurgence. Christian Kirk is just a solid slot receiver for them, or number two, or just whatever, wherever they want to move him. Evan Ingram is awesome. I have a feeling Trevor Lawrence will play. It's Sunday night. We're recording this Sunday night, so we can get this out Monday. So you guys are seeing this the day after the Jags game. So a lot can happen over these next 72 hours. But I have a feeling Trevor Lawrence will play, and I just think this defense is going to be able to keep the Saints offense in check. For some reason, they just seem to struggle to score, even though they can put up 400 plus yards a game, it seems like. But Jags are going to win this one. I think it's going to be a 24-13 type victory for the Jags.
Yeah. I think it'll be a little bit of a kind of a sloppy game. Just I think these aren't two extremely technical teams, especially on the defensive side of the ball. They're very physical, and they kind of turn these games into brawls. So it's going to be interesting, and I'm looking forward to this one. But we're both going with the Jags. So let's go ahead and wrap this video up here. If you haven't already, go ahead and like and subscribe. Leave a comment down below on who you think is going to come out ahead in this Week 7 Thursday Night Football matchup. Will it be the Jacksonville Jaguars? Will it be the New Orleans Saints? Let us know what you think on that. We'll see you guys next time.